ANSI Standards is one of those terms that you're going to see quite a bit when you read and study about C++ and a whole lot of other things in our world now. But let's talk about ANSI Standards as they apply to C++. Now, ANSI stands for the American National Standards Institute. So who are these people? Well, they are they. Okay, notice the quotes. We always hear about, well, they should change this. They should make sure this don't happen. Well, ANSI is one of those they organizations, and their responsibility is to establish standards for everybody else to follow. Now, just like in a separate video, we talked about the best integrated development environment, and that's about as easy as determining what the best kind of music is. Because everybody says, we all like good music, but we have trouble really defining definitively what good music is for everybody. The same thing happens in virtually every walk of life. How do we make sure that all products and services are marketed, can be marketed consistently and will interact with each other properly because they all meet the same standards? And so that is exactly what ANSI is charged with doing, creating those standards. Now, the standards that they create and then manufacturers follow helps to make our products in the U.S. more marketable in a global economy, because you can be in another country and know that if I buy this product from the U.S. and it's built based on certain electrical standards, then I can plug it in the wall here. Even though we may use a different power configuration, it has been built to comply with our standards, and everybody's going to be cool. The best example of this is early in the American history, we had a problem with different railroad widths. Different people were building different railroad cars when the wheels required different widths on the rails. And so until we standardized on a width of the rails, trains couldn't go anywhere on anybody's track. They could only stay on their own track. And everybody, of course, realized, hey, this is silly. Let's make all the rails the same width, and then anybody's train can run on anybody else's track. That is exactly what ANSI is here to do. Make sure everybody's rails are the same width. Now, how does that apply to C++? Well, when you talk about C++ and ANSI, ANSI's job is to attempt to ensure that the C++ code is always portable. Now, what do we mean by portable? Here's a good example. That if I write code for Microsoft C++ compiler, in other words, I build it in the Microsoft Visual Studio environment and I compile it, will that code compile and run and behave on another vendor's compiler without errors? Because if I can only run Microsoft C++ on Microsoft boxes and Mac's C++ on Mac boxes and so forth, you see the problem we're going to get into. Now, the good news is that when it comes to C++, the ANSI standards have been out there for a while and they've been quite stable, so you should be okay with these. But even though the ANSI standards are supported by all of the major manufacturers out there for these integrated development environments, the compilers and so forth, you should always check before you get the newest, hottest, coolest, freest, whatever IDE compiler out there. And when write code, you need to test that, and you need to look and make sure that it's ANSI standard, because if you don't, you could spend a whole lot of time and effort writing code that simply won't run in a lot of other environments, and that's going to be problematic for you, okay? So that's what the ANSI standards are giving us. That's why it's very important to make sure that you write code that complies to ANSI standards, to make sure that you have the widest possible audience out there for the code that you create.